you're best just to sort of use it whenever you can, and it doesn't cost that much mana either in the scale of things, especially when you have a whole bunch of intelligence like Nicker seems to have. And all these Dryads are now just sort of picking on these footmen, but obviously footmen with defense are actually fairly good against Dryads, because Dryads just end up poisoning themselves, and while the footmen do die, it still works out pretty well for in terms of sort of the gold lost for just having to having all these low hit points Dryads. And the Archmage is being chased away along with the Mountain King. Mountain King is now level 4, and it does have an invuln pot actually, so that's going to be pretty useful for him, because obviously there's so much slowing from these Dryads, and there's a possibility of surround, but with all the skeletons. And as you can see, the bounce back attacks really do a lot of damage to the Dryads, so you really do need to be careful, and he'd be much better off just focusing on this priest. And one Hunt does get Bolton killed, and it looks like Dark Ranger's been Bolton now, but he will probably be able to get away. He does still have 2 charges of his Wand of Illusion if he can get out of range, and then maybe try and trick Cass, but Cass is probably too good a player just to fall for something like that. And Nicker stealing a Priest as well, obviously some pretty tricky play there by him, and these Dryads obviously just so good against these casters as well, so they will just have to, those casters will just try and get away, and Nicker will have to stay out of the range of towers. And meanwhile, the Dark Ranger is down to very low hit points. The Mountain King is chasing him down. He does have 65 mana now, and Nicker could just buy a healing potion here, and yeah, he does heal up in time, just in time actually, because the Bolt comes in, and he wouldn't have made it to the Moonwell, so that's a very nice play here by him. And the Dark Ranger is just being forced to use all his Moon Juice and Moonstone as well. But now the Archmage is on the run, because all the slope from the Dryads is going to kick in, and he doesn't have the boots of speed. The Mountain King could just drop the boots of speed and wait for the Archmage to catch up and pick him up, but it looks like he doesn't bother, and he will, if he hasn't scouted it yet, Cass will now scout the expansion and the towers and the tricky play. And Nicker has actually built an Altar of Kings, which suggests to me that he might actually go for some sort of human hero, perhaps. Obviously, Moon did that famously against Todd. The game's definitely on YouTube if you want to search for it, or I might put up a link. But in sort of an amazing game where he goes Dark Ranger, and then he goes for a Blood Mage, and I think it's Mountain King maybe, or Paladin, I can't quite remember. But a nice slow there by stealing a Stork, and then immediately casting slow on the Mountain King. And the Mountain King has been taking a lot of focus from these Dryads, and it looks like actually he might get away thanks to the healing from the Priest as well. That's been pretty nice play by Cass, but the Priest does go down anyways, but that's certainly not too much of a cost compared to the cost of buying back a level 4 Mountain King. And sorry, what was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, Moon versus Todd is a really epic game, although Moon's been reluctant to do it again, I think because he caught a lot of flack for sort of messing about and not being sort of respectful enough. And now tier 3 tech now out for Nicker, and getting the bear upgrade as well. And Nicker is now scouting this expansion, or creeping this expansion as well, and putting up a human expansion. I think this is because he wants to tech this town hall to tier 2 so he can build a second hero. Obviously Archmage probably wouldn't be the best hero, but actually Paladin wouldn't be brilliant either, because Holy Light can't heal a Dark Ranger, but certainly a Mountain King or a Blood Mage would both be quite fun. And level 4 and a bit for the Mountain King. It looks like he'll probably just try and get a bolt. Actually, very nice detonate there by Nicker, avoiding that bolt both by just killing off his wisp. And retraining to a Blizzard though, and this is going to be very effective for Cass. This is a very smart choice, because obviously not even water elementals to be dispelled or stolen anymore, and looks like these 3 Moonwells as well as this Ancient Protector will go down, and there's nothing really Nicker can do about it at this point. First Bear is out, and casts Rejuvenation on himself, but is immediately dispelled by the Priest, and this Bear is just being forced to run around. He doesn't have the tier 2 upgrade yet, or maybe he does. He must have just finished now. Oh no, maybe he had to cancel it for some reason. And Cass using Blizzard again, just trying to beat down with some of these units, but he knows he has to get out, and he's done a lot of damage, so it's a fairly good attack, and he does manage to get out. But Nicker has managed to steal a Priest, so excuse me, it has gone decently for him. But Nicker does have these bears, a couple of bears now. He hasn't got the master training. Also, he's at 52 out of 50 food. That's a really terrible food to be at, really, and especially when you have 2 expansions and 1 more on the way. Actually, this one peasant's really low as well. He needs to be careful not to lose that, because otherwise that could take him a while to get another peasant to actually build this thing. And meanwhile, the mains have run out now, although actually this main hasn't. Cass will just continue to mine from it, and putting up a couple more towers. So I think he realizes that it's quite likely that some sort of pressure is going to come in, and that's exactly what's happening here. And the Cass does TP in as well, and the Nicker immediately gets out of the way, and he actually uses a very nice staff there in anticipation of a bolt coming from the Mountain King, and that's a pretty nice play there. And as you can see, he popped a anti-magic shell as well, or anti-magic potion, just to ensure that he wouldn't get bolted and killed by that, and also it means he can't be hit by Blizzard. But as you can see, sort of 3 units here just from Cass's army. That must be annoying him a bit, and silence being used on the Archmage as well. But obviously it wears out pretty quickly on a hero, and looks like the Archmage actually in a bit of trouble here. Does get staffed back at the very last second by the Mountain King. That's a pretty nice play. Mountain King does actually have 3 ivory towers as well. He should probably just use them to help fortify his base, because once these bears come out, actually nice takedown of a bear there. Once the bears do come out, that will be pretty hard to play against. And master bears actually, so if Nicker had transformed that one into a master form, he might have actually managed to save it. That's a bit careless by him, and he has now transferred the other one into master form, and there's no arcane towers up. Well, actually one's coming up now, but I think it's always wise to have at least one arcane tower up at any point. And Nicker actually stealing another peasant here, just sort of like doing what he can and putting up a tower immediately. Actually, this is a bit cheeky by him. And nice play here by Cass. You can see he's actually built a sort of a wall of towers to protect his Mountain King, and a paladin now out for Cass as well. And Nicker just decides that he's gonna sort of just fight his way through the towers rather than try and go around them, and creating a couple fake bears, which Cass does have to take down first. But this one tower will actually go up, but Nicker will lose the peasant. So a bit of a shame there, and actually the towers within another tower's range. Could have been quite funny to see sort of dueling towers, but I guess not today. And every mine really being mined from at this point, or every mine that's left. Obviously the main for Cass isn't back, and Cass actually a bit trapped in his base here because of that staff, and so he will have to kill his own farm, which is a bit of a shame, but obviously not the end of the world. And a workshop now out for Cass as well, and perhaps we're going to see mortars, or since he's tier 3, I think it's more likely we're actually going to see tanks. Paladin sort of level 1 obviously just out, but with a bit of experience, so it's a good start for him. And obviously there's so much creeping now, and he can really do it pretty much solo. He can get his Mountain King up to 5, and then really just start to creep up his Paladin as well. Obviously he doesn't have too many units for creeping, but with water elemental stuff like that, you can creep pretty well. And more Dryads being produced now for Nicker, and was that Mark of the Claw as well. So clearly he has plans for more bears, and 2 Ancient of Winds now going up. Perhaps we're going to see some dots as well, and tech here from Nicker on his town hall. So I think we are going to see a second human hero, or at least the intention of that. Maybe we won't actually see it, but a lot of bears here as well for Nicker, and very good use of rejuvenation. Obviously with no arcane towers actually up, the bears are just free to sort of run riot with doing things like rejuvenation. And Cass is now coming in with this Mountain King. His other heroes seem to be lagging behind a fair bit, but meanwhile Nicker's just making the most of his time and just doing as much damage as he can, but he does need to stay in the back of the base when the heroes are here, because they can just sort of like a Mountain King can bolt, and then you can focus with towers and stuff. And Nicker needs to be careful with this Dryad. Actually a couple of the Dryads could just be taken down by the towers quite quickly if he's not careful. But level 8 now on the Dark Ranger, and a nice use of Blizzard there as well. Obviously gets silenced quite quickly, but he does have a TP on his Archmage as well if he needs it, but he could have just staffed at home, I think, and then run away with his run away with his other couple heroes. I'm not quite sure why he didn't do that, because obviously he has all this protection from these towers. I think he probably could have gotten away, but he did actually just TP back to his own base. Maybe he just wanted to keep his Archmage around. And this one footman will just go down now, but it's not the end of the world, and I imagine that got him into some convenient food. But yeah, 78, maybe he's just hoping to build one more bear now, and he does have one more bear queued up to put him straight at 80. And tier 2 human base now for Nicker. This is going to get confusing, because he's going to have tier 3 on his elf base and tier 2 on his human base. And in case you don't know, I don't think you can build, for example, a second human hero, you can build a second hero from a human altar unless you have a tier 2 human base. You can't just have any tier 2. It's a bit confusing. It's something that you see so rarely, though. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that's correct, and it would explain why he's teching as well. And meanwhile, all the bears sort of being focused down by the Blizzard, which is fairly effective against them, because they tend to bunch up a fair bit. And silence being used very effectively, though. Nicker is managing to get all 3 heroes often, and the couple of the heroes are now in trouble for cast, but he can just run them to sort of the back within the range of these other couple towers. And he does have a workshop, and he is producing siege engines as well, so this could be pretty nice for him. And obviously with all these bases, this could work out very well for him, because there's not really much for Nicker to do at this point apart from try and build a couple more units. And I wonder what he's doing with the Ancient of Winds. Actually, he's not doing much by the looks of things, although he is getting more bear upgrades, so he's going to have some pretty nice 2-1 upgrades in a second, and he probably will go for more upgrades later even. And meanwhile, there's not really there was an attack here. I can't quite see what it was anymore. And tier 2 towers now going up for Nicker out with his human base. And is he producing? Oh, he is producing. He's producing a Mountain King second. This is going to be pretty fun, I think. And this one, Drew the Claw, actually could rejuvenate, but he is stunned and looks like he won't manage to. No, he doesn't manage to in time. Level 6 now on the Archmage. That's really big. Obviously, silence is quite good against it, but teleporting in certainly is always a possibility, and you just get such mobility with level 6 Archmage. It's really hard to play against, and especially if you play it well and you plan your attacks ahead, and you know that when your opponent comes into attack, you're going to TP